first off, before we get into the questions, I would like to thank everybody who commented to get their questions in. We got over 77 comments. A lot of questions, and if I missed it, I'm sorry. It had a lot to do with what the browser and what device I was seeing it on. It would switch like the amount, and some comments wouldn't show up. So I apologize if I missed your comment, but I am super excited to answer all your questions. You guys, some seriously tough questions to answer, but some really good ones on here. And this is the whole reason I created the channel, to do these kind of videos. And I really appreciate everybody. I really, really do. So this first comment comes from This is Patrick. He says, question for the video. He says, what do you think are the best 3 options for the Dolphins at pick number 22? So the first round pick. There's a lot of different opinions on this. I think it's defense all the way. Some people think it's Forrest Lamp, which I don't. I love Forrest Lamp. I think he has potential to be an all-pro guard in the NFL, and that's especially at pick 22. If you can get a player that's an all-pro caliber talent, that's good enough. So I think my 3 option would be Forrest Lamp. I think my 2 option would be Jared Davis from Florida or Zach Cunningham from Vanderbilt. I think you could go either way on that. I'm a Jared Davis kind of guy. I like him a little bit more. I think he's a little bit more he's a little smarter. He's a little bit. I think he's a better tackler than Zach Cunningham. Zach Cunningham's probably a little bit more athletic. So you could go. It's a give and take there. It's just different opinions on that. My number one guy, my personal number one guy, who I've been watching a lot of tape of and just cannot stop watching him, is Hassan Reddick. I really, really like Hassan Reddick a lot. And I know if people are asking, there's some other questions on this video about Hassan Reddick, so I'm not going to go in depth right now because I'm going to save that for later on. But I love Hassan Reddick. So my 3 would probably be Reddick. You could go Zach Cunningham or Jerry Davis or Forrest Lamp. You could actually put Forrest Lamp over those guys. I wouldn't. I think the need for a linebacker is a little bit higher. I don't think Koamisi is the answer wherever we're starting. I think Koamisi, if he is the answer, he's going to start on the outside. But I think Jerry Davis and Zach Cunningham could fix the run issues we're having, the tackling issues that we're having. I think they could fix that, especially Jerry Davis. He's a really good open field tackler. All right, so let's move on from this. And I know a lot of people like Taco. Some people like Charles Harris. So, you could go either. You could go Jabril Peppers. There's a lot. There's a lot to go. I mean, it's a hard one to figure out. So this next one comes from Jake Harris. He says, looking at our 2017 opponents, we play some very good teams: the Raiders, the Chiefs, the Falcons, the Patriots. Obviously, we always play the Patriots. What do you honestly think our final record will look like? I am not intimidated by any of those guys, especially not the Chiefs. I mean, the Falcons, I'm not intimidated by them either. I think it's hard for Dolphins fans to grasp what we accomplish, and they're really scared if it's a one-year fluke. And you guys got to understand what Adam Gase is building here. And I think if you follow the team really closely, like I know all of you do, and I know Jake Harris does, even then, I think there's a certain amount of comfort there that I haven't felt, me personally, in a long time. I think above anything else, I see consistency with Adam Gase. So when we won 10 games with a roster that was beat up, and some teams like the Chargers, we were just as beat up as them. And they used that excuse of why they didn't do very well. Adam Gase he said in many press conferences, dude, I will never use that as an excuse. We're going to go out, we're going to take it week by week and try to win, take it one game at a time and try to, win one game at a time. This team is super talented. Super talented, especially on the offensive side of the football. This team can score a lot of points. We finally found our identity last season. I think we're going to expand on that identity this upcoming season using the no huddle. A whole lot more than we did last season. We failed. We weren't really good at it last year. I think we're going to be way better at it this year. I'm not intimidated by anybody because I think we're one of the best teams in the AFC, and if anything, teams should be intimidated by us. And we really, I think, earned that last season. I know we're going to have to earn it again this season. And I understand the AFC West is tough. The Raiders are tough. The Chiefs are tough. The Falcons, I don't know if they're going to recover. I don't know if they're going to be the same team. But they have a really young, talented roster. The New England Patriots always are tough. So I'm not intimidated by anybody, and I can't really answer this question straight up because I never do. But all I could say to you, Jake, is don't be intimidated. I think we should all. I understand why, but I really think we should all have the utmost confidence in this football team. And again, I brought this analogy up before. If you would have told me the year before the 2016 season started, you would have said to me, because we had to play the Arizona Cardinals for a season ago, were one of the best, most dominating, pulverizing teams in the NFL. They dominated everybody. They made it to the NFC Championship. And that year, to get to the NFC Championship, that was really tough. There were really good teams in the playoffs that year. Obviously, they barely beat the Green Bay Packers to get there. The Arizona Cardinals were a really good team that year. You know, so many teams that we played last season, nobody gave us any chance to go to the playoffs that last season. People thought Buffalo was going to... People still think Buffalo is going to go to the playoffs. We get zero respect, okay? And that, if anything, that makes our team more hungry to show everybody how good we are. Because what we had to get through to get to the playoffs last season, in my opinion, it is ridiculous. And what my point is with the Cardinals analogy, is you never know how good a football team is going to be. So I got a lot of questions, so we got to move on. I could talk about that for an hour. I really could, because I could bring up many examples. Obviously, the Carolina Panthers, who were really beat up last year, that didn't reach what they captured the year before. There's a lot of different, analogies you could bring up on that one. He says, okay, so this next one comes from Ricky Ricardo. He says, can we count on J.J. to be our long-term running back? And I know the difference, I know if you, so I don't know how long your fandom goes back, but if you go back to Ricky Williams in his prime days when we went 10-6 with him, early on in the earlier 2000s, we didn't have any quarterbacks, so Ricky really had to carry, like, he was the offense, like, literally, he was the offense. J.J. last season took a lot of carries, obviously, in a short amount of time, I think. I think Jay, obviously you saw the shoulder problems he had, and I think that's what you're alluding to. But him coming out of Boise, a lot of people the reason he wasn't drafted higher than he was, which he should have been a crapping second-round pick, for God's sakes, is because of the knee issues he had. And he's proved that he is a first-round talent, obviously. But a lot of people worry about his knee. A lot of people worry about his shoulder. Here's what I have to say about that. Yes, I do believe Jay is our long-term back. Yes, I think Jay can... I don't think Jay's going to have a heavy load this upcoming season. I think with the offense expanding, everybody learning it, I think this offense is more talented than it was a year ago. I think Jay is not going to have to take a ton of carries. I think Ryan takes a lot of pressure off of Jay. And if anything, Ryan needed the pressure taken off of him because not a lot of people understand. A lot of the offense was on Ryan. It really was early on in his career. Now that Jay, we have a little bit more balance. Adam Gase, better coordinator, the best coach he's ever had by far. Jay's not going to carry a heavy load, and I definitely think JJ is our long-term guy. I'm going to butcher it, so I'm not going to even try. He says, Kenneth says, why do you believe the Dolphins didn't re-sign Deion Sims, and where do you see Fasano as a fit in this offense? Okay, so before I go off on a tangent on Anthony, let me start with Deion, because I mess up your guys' question. I hate when I go back and edit these videos and I really don't answer the full question. I only answer one half of it. But, okay, so let's start with Deion before I go on a tangent. Okay, so Deion Sims was offered number one tight end money. He was offered number one tight end money. He decided to go on to Chicago. That was one of the biggest reasons. The other biggest reason is he was going to get way more playing time with Chicago, obviously in the wake of a Julius Thomas trade. This is straight from Adam Gase's mouth. This is what he said in the coaches meeting. He said he was offered, the money was a big reason why he left, and the playing time was a big reason why he left. So that is why Deion Sims did not re-sign with the Dolphins. He was going to get more playing time. He was going to get a whole lot more money. And your second part is Anthony. Anthony is going to fit in the run blocking scheme. He's going to be on the field a lot. Anthony Fasano, great route runner. One of the more fun players to watch when he was with the Dolphins for 5 years. Anthony is going to have a really good year under Adam Gase. I really do believe that. He's going to have a bounce back year than what he had with Tennessee. He obviously didn't get a lot of receptions or yards. He's going to get a whole lot more with Adam Gase. So I see Fasano fitting in the run offense a lot. I think he's one of the best run blocking tight ends. He was Pro Football Focus's number one blocking tight end in the NFL, which is really hard to get to to have that, to get that. Also, I see him fitting in the passing game on play action, especially on obvious rundowns. We hit him with that play action, maybe midfield. Anthony Fasano wide open in the seam. I mean, that's some dangerous stuff right there, Kenneth. I'm very excited about that. He said, is JJ the boss 14? He says, do you think we should draft Forrest Lamp? I do, and maybe Marcus Williams, the safety from Utah, in the second round. I love Forrest Lamp. Like I said, he has potential to be Zach Martin. He has potential to be an all-pro in this league. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a Forrest Lamp. We just have needs on the defensive side of the football. And this, you know what? Even if we did take a Forrest Lamp in the first round, it's deep in the secondary, whether you want safety, corner, whatever you as a fan think this Dolphins defense needs, they can get in the second, third round. They can get that. So if we did take a Forrest Lamp, I wouldn't be mad at it. I don't think we should take Forrest Lamp. But again, I don't know. I like Forrest Lamp. I like Hassan Reddick more. I like Jared Davis more. I like Zach Cunningham more, just because they fill a bigger need there. Okay. And Marcus Williams, super smart safety. I think he's going to be very good in the NFL. And yes, yes, I like T.J. McDonald. I love T.J. McDonald because I don't like Nate Allen. But I love Marcus Williams, and I think he's going to be a really good. Him and Rashard Jones together, that would be one heck of a tandem. Okay, the next question comes from Marvin. He says, "What do you think about this draft order? With the first pick, we take Forrest Lamp. With the second round pick, we take DeMarcus Walker. With the third round pick, we take Teez Tabbar. And somewhere in the later round, we get wide receiver Ardarius Stewart. Okay, so I'm not mad at the Forrest Lamp pick. I love DeMarcus Walker. I like that pick a lot. The third round pick with Teez, I don't think he's dropping to the third round. I think he's definitely not dropping out of the second. Some people had him in the top 15 at one point. His combine really hurt him, so that's why a lot of people see him dropping. I love Ardarius Stewart. Has potential to be a really, really good run after the catch safety in the NFL. Next question comes from Marvin. Marvin here. Marvin asks, I think this is, the same guy. Marvin asks again, he says, what do you think about DeMarcus Walker for the Miami Dolphins? A lot of people question his motor. He's not, a lot of people question his size, but his production is insane. 16 sacks with 21 TFLs. I mean, he's got a lot of talent. When you question a man's motor and the dude has 21 TFLs and 16 sacks, I don't know if that's a motor problem. But motor problem, anytime I hear somebody has a motor problem, I immediately think about Jordan Phillips, and it puts a bad taste in my mouth. But I love DeMarcus Walker. I think he has tremendous talent, and he can be the heir to Cameron Wake's throne if we did draft him in the second round. I like DeMarcus Walker a great deal. A great deal. All right, this next question comes from Hunter Hayes. He says, people seem to be surprised that Carew didn't do much last year, but being a third-round receiver at a position, or third-round pick at receiver at a position we are strong at, I didn't expect much. What do you and he says, what did you and what are you expecting this year from him? I think Leonte Carew's role is going to be expanded. I think Leonte's role is going to be expanded a lot. He had practice, again, you bring up a great point about the strength at that position. He just really couldn't beat out anybody, and that's a great point. He had, practice. Adam takes the blame for some of it. He said he used him in the wrong way. He tried him at too many different positions. He was trying him on the outside. He was trying him in a whole lot more, different positions than what he did great at Rutgers. Leonte's a slot receiver. He's not an outside receiver. And they tried to use him on the outside. He's a big physical jump ball guy too. I mean, he gets those 50-50 balls in college. He put the ball in the paint. He had 10+ touchdowns 2 years in a row. In his last year, he didn't even play the whole season, and he had 10 touchdowns. So Leonte Carew has a ton of talent. And Adam Gase takes some of the blame for that because he used him in so many different positions his first year. It was a whole lot on Leonte. I think what Adam said, I think it was the coaches meeting, he's going to take some of that pressure off of Leonte. He's going to focus on one position with him. And I expect Leonte to have a whole lot more snaps in the red zone. I could see that because he's a physical wide receiver, especially in the red zone. You need that. I would expect a whole lot more from Leonte, and I hope we use him in more red zone packages because of his production at Rutgers. Getting the ball in the end zone was Leonte's specialty in college, so I'd expect him to do that a whole lot more in his second year. This next question, in case I didn't say your name, that question came from Hunter Hayes. It comes from Ian Good. He says, "What are the chances we trade away one or two of our third round picks?" So you're asking me if we trade away one of our 3-round picks. I think it's very high that we trade one of our 3rd-round picks to a team, maybe to get an extra 2nd rounder, maybe to even move up in the 1st round. Use that as ammunition to move up in the 1st round. Mike Tannenbaum, super famous for trades. I would look for that to happen for sure, Ian. I think that there's a pretty crapping high chance of that. Okay, so this next one comes from McCarlin 08. I think that's how you say his name. He says, if Reuben Foster is available around the 15th pick, should we move up to get him? Should not be crazy expensive to move up 7 spots, right? Thanks. I don't know. 7 spots is a lot of spots. I don't know. You might have to give up a 2nd rounder to get up that high, and maybe trade your 2nd round pick for somebody else's, or just have to give it up altogether. But yes, I would trade up that high to get Reuben Foster, because if you want a Jerry Davis and Zach Cunningham, you better get this Reuben Foster has so much talent and coverage. He's the best open field tackler in the draft. He would drastically fix our run defense. I think the Dolphins would be fools if he dropped to 22 and not to pick him. I think if he got as close to 15, I think we would be fools not to trade up. At least try to trade up and get him. Obviously, Mike Tannenbaum tried to trade up and get Miles Jack last season, so yes, that is not out of the question that he would try to go up and get somebody that he would really, really want. And if that somebody is Reuben Foster, I would expect that to happen. Question comes from Jay Rose. He says, if Tannehill gets hurt again, but we still make it to the playoffs with Matt Moore, would you keep starting him once Tannehill is healthy enough to get play, or bench Moore no matter how good he's played or how many touchdowns he threw? Rewatch the Jets game. Okay, so you're asking me if Matt Moore came in for Tannehill if Tannehill got hurt again, and then Tannehill comes back as he's healthy, do I keep playing Matt Moore? Absolutely not. Matt Moore is nowhere near the talent that Ryan is. Ryan, I don't understand it. Ryan Tannehill is a very talented quarterback. Some of the stats he's put up, obviously he hasn't won a lot of games. And that's, he's, coming into the NFL, he was more of an athlete than he was a quarterback. So his development was going to take a little bit longer than most. He didn't play quarterback his whole life, and I know Dolphins fans are sick and tired of hearing that, but it's true. I mean, that's just the obvious truth. So it took him a lot longer to develop. If you watch the coaches meeting press conference, Adam Gase said something very interesting. He said that Arizona Cardinals game, the game started to slow down for Ryan. That's the first time I've ever heard a coach say that about Ryan. The game started to slow down for him. Do you know what happens when the game slows down for a player? They become a Hall of Famer. Okay, Ryan Tannehill, I trust Adam's opinion and what he says. Adam doesn't lie. And you could see it in that Arizona Cardinals game. I think, what did he toss? He tossed 3 touchdowns before he got hurt. He didn't even finish the whole game against a very good Cardinals secondary. I remember previewing that game up until that game, and I was thinking one of the bigger reasons, we're going to have to overcome a really good secondary. They got a lot of turnovers and a really good pass rush also. And he tore him up. One of the better defenses in the NFL. He tore him up. He threw 3 touchdowns that even finished the whole game. A lot of people forget that. I don't care. And to your point about Matt Moore throwing 4 touchdowns against the Jets, the Jets were god awful last season. Okay, if Tannehill threw 3 touchdowns before he couldn't even finish the whole game against a really good Cardinals defense, think about what he would have done to a Jets team that didn't like each other, had no leadership at all, and was just not talented at all, nowhere near that a Cardinals defense was. He probably would have done the same thing, throwing for 4 touchdowns. So I think Tannehill is bar none more talented than Matt Moore, and I think he's going to prove that to you, Jay, this upcoming season. So I understand why you say that too, Jay. Jay. I understand why you're saying that. When you see someone toss 4 touchdowns against a division rival, you're like, maybe this guy can do it. But I think that Steelers game kind of shows you what Matt Moore's ceiling is. Yeah. Okay, so let's go on to, I think the next question comes from All-Star Gabe. He says, "What do you think?" So what do you think if we trade for Sherman, then trade a corner like Xavier Howard for Kareem Martin, and then draft a safety like Malik Hooker? This is an interesting question. I would not trade for Richard Sherman, and Malik Hooker is going to be a top 5 to 7 pick. So I don't think we're going to even get our hands on Malik Hooker, especially if we trade for somebody like Richard Sherman, where we're going to have to give up a first-round pick for him to get him. So no, I don't think that's a good idea, All-Star Gabe. I really don't think that is a good idea. This next question comes from Ray Gonzalez. He says, "Do you think we will re-sign Jarvis, and if so, for how much?" He says, "For how much and how long? Also, do you think he will get more than 4 touchdowns this season?" I think if we don't re-sign Jarvis, I'm going to do some crazy things. I might kill some people because Jarvis Landry is the heart and soul of this Dolphins team, and I'm serious. I will get emotional. I will cry on video for you guys if if Jarvis didn't. If he went somewhere else, that would really hurt me as a fan. Like seriously, that would hurt. I think it would hurt the whole fan base, and that would just be the dumbest thing the Dolphins have done in 10 years. That would be worse than not. I'm serious when I say this. If we don't re-sign Jarvis, that's worse than not signing Drew Brees. Okay, that is way worse in my opinion. And yes, I think if we did re-sign him, it would be for 5+ years. I think he's a max contract. Jarvis is a max contract guy. He's the best slot receiver in the NFL. He had more yards out of the slot than any other player last season. So Jarvis deserves a max contract. He says also, do you think he'll get more than 4? Do you think Jarvis will get more than 4 touchdowns? Jarvis's game isn't really getting touchdowns; it's just getting a whole lot of yards, moving the chains. That's what slot receivers do. Do I think he'll get more than 4 touchdowns? Yes. I think we're going to use him in a lot of different ways this upcoming season. I think a year under Adam Gase in this offense, which Jarvis got the offense really quick anyway. So Jarvis is going to have one heck of a year this upcoming season. Yes, I think he'll get more than 4 touchdowns. And even if he doesn't, that's just not Jarvis's game. Jarvis, like I said, he moves the sticks, gets a lot of yardage, a lot of productivity out of the slot receiver role. And if he does get more touchdowns, it's because Devontae Parker stepped up a lot. I think if Devontae Parker steps up, right, and he had a good season last season, he had over 700 yards receiving. But if Devontae Parker gets to that level that we know that he can play at, Jarvis will get more touchdowns. Okay, because it's really hard getting double teamed out of the slot. Trust me, Jarvis is getting double teamed every third down. So if Devontae can step up, take some pressure off of Jarvis, yes, he'll get more touchdowns. Okay, this next question comes from Ian Good. He says, how much of an impact can you see TJ McDonald make after the suspension? I think he could fix this. I hope this run defense is fixed before 8 games into the season. But if it's not, I think that's hard to say. I think TJ McDonald right now fixes the Dolphins' run defense a whole lot. I think he's a great tackler, tone setter, by the way, hits hard, great leader, by the way. Great leader, and he gets the momentum on your defensive side. When the ball's rolling, rolling with TJ McDonald. I think he brings a safety that can play in the box. He can play outside of the box. He can play free. I think he's a smart, good leader. I think he's a great open field tackler, just what the Miami Dolphins want. So I think he can drastically fix the run defense. TJ McDonald can, because he's such a great open field tackler, and I think he can play in the box just like a Rashard Jones, which we can take Rashard Jones out of the box, put TJ McDonald in there, and let Rashard Jones be a ball hawk. So yeah, that's what I think what TJ McDonald brings to the table. Alright, so this next question comes from Big Poppy. He says, do you think Julius Thomas is a long-term solution at the tight end position, or should we target O.J. Howard or David Njoku in the first round for Adam Gase's system? I'm gonna be honest with you, Big Poppy. A lot of people say don't draft a tight end in the first round. I might agree with that. I do agree with that. I don't think the Dolphins should take a tight end. But the idea, and before I go on to answer this even more, the tight end, this year's tight end draft is really deep in talent. There's players like an Evan Ingram, who's going to take a little bit longer to develop. Really doesn't fit our scheme because of run blocking issues there. But there's like people like Jake Butt, who obviously tore his ACL. But it goes deep, so you don't have to take one in the first round. But yeah, the idea of an O.J. Howard or Njoku in an Adam Gase system, that's Rob Gronkowski level stuff right there, guys. That's insane. And yes, it's hard to say no to that, Big Poppy. It really is, because that's dangerous. That's all I have to say. That's all how I can describe that. Okay, this next question comes from Lance White, he says, to address the safety position, would it be the best to get Marcus Williams in the second round or Justin Evans in the third round? So Marcus Williams versus Justin Evans. I like Marcus Williams more. I think he's a better field general than Justin Evans is. I think he's way smarter than Justin Evans. I think he gets his head around a whole lot better than Justin Evans does. He has his head up a whole lot more. I think he's he's got a little bit, maybe. I think his ball skills are just as good. I think he's smarter. I think which is the biggest thing he has over Justin Evans. So I like Marcus Williams more than Justin Evans. So if I was going to take a safety and Marcus Williams was there, I would take Marcus Williams. Okay, this next question comes from Quinn. Quinn72. He says, if it comes down to drafting Jabril Peppers or Obi in this at pick number 22 in the first round, where would we go? I like Jabril Peppers more because I think his instincts are he's way more versatile. Well, he's not. Well, see, that's not true. I think man, that's a hard one. I think Jabril Peppers has more instincts at safety, which is what I love, especially at the safety position, than an Obi does. So I would take Jabril Peppers. All right, so this next one comes from Colin Klein. Colin, I appreciate you. You've been in the community a long time. He says, "What do you think would be the best defensive option in round 2? Because we are definitely going defense in both rounds." Couldn't agree with you more, Colin. So you got people like Obi who could drop to the second round. Obviously, he had a great combine. Maybe that moves him up into the first round. Malik McDowell out of Michigan State. He could drop to the second round. I don't know if he's going to drop that far to us, though. We could trade up to get him. I like a DeMarcus Walker. I like a Marcus Williams. That's a hard question to answer. But yes, I do think we're going to go defense in both rounds. To be honest, I really like DeMarcus Walker if we don't take a defensive lineman in the first round. I think DeMarcus Walker has a very bright future. I know a lot of people bring up his size and motor, especially in a 4-3 system, but his production is off the charts. So I like DeMarcus Walker a lot. See here. This next question comes from Diener. I think I don't know how to say his name. I don't know how to say your name. He says I'm going to call you Dan. Dan, hey, he says, "Hey, good job on your videos. I posted this question on another video. I have been looking at some video breakdowns of Malik McDowell from Michigan State. I believe the Finns have had some scouts and coaches to work him out. He looks like he has a lot of potential. Our front four is the strength of our defense. Adding this guy as a defensive tackle next to Sue would be awesome." You're right. Malik McDowell, very good player. I think he could drop to, the end of the first round, possibly early second. We could trade up to get him. I would gamble on Malik McDowell. I don't think we should take him at 22. I like Jared Davis, Zach Cunningham. I like a Forrest Lamp over Malik McDowell. I think Forrest Lamp is more of a sure thing than Malik McDowell is at 22. So that's what I think about Malik McDowell. I don't like him in the first round. This next question comes from E. Steven. He says, question for the video. If we draft Hassan Reddick, where do you think he'll play? Outside linebacker or defensive end? He says, the reason I ask is because I don't want another Koamisi scenario. The difference between Koamisi and Hassan Reddick is Koamisi did not play 3 or 4 different positions like a Hassan Reddick did. Obviously, Hassan Reddick at Temple was brought on as a cornerback. He was a walk-on as a cornerback. He has since then played defensive end, right outside linebacker, and middle linebacker. I think he played middle linebacker in the Senior Bowl, too. Hassan Reddick can play 3 different positions. He's a great coverage guy. He's just as good as a pass rusher. He can give you double-digit sacks. Adam Gay said something interesting about Koamisi. Obviously, it's unfortunate that Koamisi was hurt for the whole year, basically. But he said him and Vance Joseph created a 3-4 sub package. Basically, it looked more like a 3-4 front, where Koamisi was a pass rusher. He was an outside linebacker. I think if we were willing to do that with Koamisi, we would be more than willing to do that with Hassan Reddick. I think Hassan Reddick, if he was drafted to the Miami Dolphins, I think he would play all over the field. I think he would be an outside linebacker, though. I think we would stand him up and rush him, just like we had the idea with Koamisi. I think we would do that with Hassan Reddick. I think Hassan Reddick on third downs could either be on a nickel package, a coverage guy. I think you could, make a speed rush package for him. I think you could do a ton of different stuff with Hassan Reddick. But yes, I would see him playing outside linebacker more than anything else. That's why I like Hassan Reddick so much. Not only did he have the production, but the production's insane. Hassan Reddick, just the idea of it's insane. Hassan Reddick can guard some receivers in the NFL out of the slot. That's how athletic he is. So that's why I like Hassan Reddick so much. And I know a lot of people complain about if he was drafted to the Dolphins, his size at defensive end at 4'3". I don't think we would have to do that. I think just same thing with like how we used Olivier Vernon. We would stand him up and rush him. That's more of his comfort zone. That's what he did at Temple. And not only that, but he did have his hand in the dirt at Temple. So he can do that too if we really, really wanted him to. He's just as big as Cameron Wake. So, there's a lot of different ways you can use him, but I definitely see him playing outside linebacker. All right, so this next question comes from Steven. He says, in what round should we solve the guard situation? That is a crapping tough question. I think if you're going to do it, I know a lot of people bring up the third round, but if you're really that concerned, and Adam Gase really doesn't act that concerned about the guard position, I would go for one in the first round. I would just get it out of the way and draft Forrest Lamp because I want the sure thing. I do not want to have to go through another Dallas Thomas situation, another Shelley Smith situation, another a Billy Turner situation. Just go with the sure thing. If you're the Miami Dolphins, go with Forrest Lamp. If you're really that concerned about guard, go with Forrest Lamp. There's nothing wrong with it. If you want to take one in the third, fine. I would rather focus all energy on defense. In my personal opinion. Okay, so this next one comes from Bad Bandit. He says, do you think the Dolphins would draft Sidney Jones, the cornerback from Washington? He tore his Achilles at his pro day, but I believe he is worth the wait to get a first-round talent in the second or third round. Yes, I do. I think if Sidney Jones is there in the third round, yes, I think the Dolphins should draft him. But not the first round, dude, or the second round. But if Sidney Jones is there, obviously he tore his Achilles. The third round I think would be the best. Yeah, I would draft him in the third round. I think the talent level, he used to be a first-round talent. I think you can't pass that up. This next question comes from Walter. He says, do you think Reuben Foster is better than Hassan Reddick? They both do different things great, but in terms of who do I think is going to have the most impact on the NFL level, I don't know, but if I had to guess, Reuben Foster. Let's see here. He says, this comes from Irene. He or she says, do you expect us to draft a late-round receiver? Yes. Yes, I do. Because the receiver draft is so deep. I love Switzer from UNC, and I love Cooper Kupp. So yes, I could definitely see that happening. Okay, so this next question comes from Randolph Inc. He says, do you think Adam Gase will continue to call the plays on offense for most of his career, or do you think he'll drop the role to somewhere else? No, I think he will do. Yes, I think he will keep the call plays for most of his career. I don't think he's going to hire an offensive coordinator, and if he did, he would leave that up to Clyde. I don't think he would go search for somebody else to do it. I think Clyde Christensen would be the guy if he did decide to do that. Okay, so let's see here. This next question comes from Dan Marino. He says, do you think we should use Jakeem Grant as like a Tyreek Hill? I think Jakeem Grant had a lot to learn on the NFL level. I don't think he's as talented as Tyreek Hill, and I think if he was, then we would have used him like that. But I do think Jakeem Grant has a spot on our roster with some special packages on offense, some trick plays, some reverses. Yes, I could see us using him somewhat like a Tyreek Hill. Who should the Miami Dolphins? This next question comes from Danger Zone. He says, who should the Miami Dolphins draft in the first round? Should it be Hassan Reddick? Yes, I do think it should be Hassan Reddick. Danger Zone. After everything I just said, yes, I do. He says, this next question comes from the Gamer. He said, who would you rather draft, Jared Davis or Zach Cunningham? Again, you could go either way on that. Zach Cunningham, super athletic. Jared Davis, a little bit more instinctual, and he's a great coverage guy. I think Jared Davis. Both SEC talents, though. Both SEC talents. And a lot of people like Cunningham. I see some people saying Davis down here. This next question comes from YT. He says, what happens if Reddick gets taken before we get to him? That would suck. But yeah, I think Jared Davis becomes more the obvious pick there, or Zach Cunningham, depending on who you like. He says, why would this next same guy YT says, why wouldn't we draft a cornerback? We would probably will in the later rounds. So I don't think we won't. There's no reason not to, because there's a lot of talent at cornerback in this draft. This next question comes from Brian. He says, should we draft Jabril Peppers, and should we add more picks in the draft? I don't know about Jabril Peppers. Should we trade some picks to add more picks? Maybe. You could go either way in the first round with that, but I like Jabril Peppers a lot. This next question comes from Robert Rodriguez, and this is, I think, the final question. Yes, this is. Thank God. This is. Whew, I've been doing this for a long. It's been recording for, I think, almost half an hour now. Hopefully you guys watch this video. This was a great video. I think you guys came up with some really creative questions, and I appreciate you. So this next question comes from Robert Rodriguez. He says, after seeing Vance Joseph and other coaches leave this year, do you think we should get used to losing good coaches every year under Adam Gase? Oh yes, and Stephen Ross, when he brought Adam Gase in, he says he wants a competitive coaching staff. He wants to be that franchise where coaches leave and become head coaches. That's one of the reasons that Stephen Ross wanted Adam Gase, is because of that. So yes, I absolutely don't think there's anything wrong with that. I definitely could see that happening in the future. There's nothing wrong with that, by the way. That's actually a good sign. That's a really, really good sign. So that is going to be it, guys. I am Skaggs1383. I thank everybody who commented down below. This is basically a podcast because it was 30-something minutes long, and I can't wait to do another one of these. It was so fun doing this. It's going to take a while to edit this video, but I don't care because it was that fun. And I am Skaggs1383, and I'll see you guys in the next one.